Perspective Media. We have a wonderful guest with us today, Dr. Kimberly Hardy. She is running for House District 43 here in North Carolina. And I want to give it over to her for her to introduce herself and go into more of her background and her position on the campaign.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Let's see, background and campaign. So I'm originally from the DMV, the D.C., Maryland, Northern Virginia area.
Stand up. Stand
Chocolate
up.
City in the building.
That's
Chocolate
right.
City.
That's right. And so, but I've lived several places: Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, a few other places. Because I'm a Buckeye. Shout out to the Ohio State
Oh,
University.
God.
Got to do it.
There's
Respectful.
some Yankees.
Respectful
Yankees
pause
in the
in there.
building. Yankees.
But I'm a social worker, a school social worker by trade, and so I've been a school social worker in K through 12 environments, mostly in high schools, though in urban, under-resourced communities where we tend to find us. And after about 10 to 15 years of doing that, I decided to go back to school, get the PhD, and now I'm a social work professor at Fayetteville State University. I teach.
Broncos.
Right, there you go.
Bronco pride in the building.
Check.
They ain't nothing but some horses.
Are you being a hater?
I'm being a hater because
being
I
a
went to
hater.
Trojan, Fayetteville Tech Community College, for all my people who did not get all the good grades.
Hey, I am not hating on FTCC. A
Thank
lot
you.
of our students
Thank
would
you.
transfer over to us
Transfer.
from
We
there,
save
so-
money.
That's right.
We
That's
don't
a
have
wise-
no loans.
That's a fiscally responsible way
Thank
to
you.
get
Well,
your
I went to
education.
Chaminade University out of Honolulu, Hawaii, so no one knows
Oh,
what
wow.
that is.
Nobody even. That's a fake school.
It is not a fake school.
That's a
Well,
shama
if
lama
we put in
lama lama
schools,
fake
I
school.
went to the Washington State University.
Okay.
Go
you,
Cougs.
you throw the V
Yeah.
on things.
Anywho.
It's just,
Anywho, back to you.
Anyway, back to you,
Back to you.
That is Dr.
Doc,
Kim, okay?
Dr.
Get it
Puerto
right.
Rican is what we're going to call him.
Right, I have gotten that when I first, I've been here for about 4 years now.
Okay.
And when I first got here, I had this experience where people would look at me really odd. And so I asked a coworker once, like, why does everyone look at me so strange? And she said, because they're trying to figure out what you are. They don't know if you're black or Latino or Latina or if you are Native American. And so
I can see the Indian a little bit if they. I can see how
You
they
ain't
think
supposed to
that.
say Indian. You're supposed to say Native American.
Native American.
Political
That's
correct.
right.
But
Y'all
everybody in the
just
hood
have
say
first
Indian.
peoples, right.
Everybody in the hood say Indian.
My bad.
And it doesn't hurt. Yo hablo español. Muchos años pasados yo fui fluente en español, pero no más porque no puedo practicar mucho porque nadie aquí habla español. So I said I used to be
All
fluent a long time ago, but not anymore because I don't get
All the
practice
people say
anymore, so-
subtitles was we want
Subtitles
Taco
at the
Bell
bottom.
and we will
That
have
is- That is
quesadillas.
culturally insensitive.
Well, I'm the culture insensitive host.
Oh, okay.
Well, Dr. Hardy, so let's go back into your social work
Okay.
trade. So how long have you been in the social work space?
Wow, let's see. I graduated my bachelor's degree and my doctorate both from Morgan State University. It was
Okay.
HBC up in Maryland. And so I graduated with my MSW at Ohio State in '97. So I was practicing for a very long time. I got my doctorate in 2010. And so yeah, it was a long time. So yeah, I've been doing this
It's
for
been a
a
long
while,
time.
and now I get to teach the next generation to do it.
So we were talking a little bit offline about this, about how has the social work space changed, like in the schools, since you first came in to how it is now?
There's fewer of us. I don't think that social work has such a negative stigma. You know,
does.
we
I
take
think we were
people's
talking
kids
about
and
that.
pass
Yeah, I
out
mean,
welfare checks.
don't you
Like,
tell your mama you
and
got
that's not that right. And what happens at home stays at
At
home.
home,
And so we get treated with a lot of mistrust right from the very beginning.
We don't trust y'all right off the
Exactly,
back. I'm
because
not gonna lie
if
to
I
you.
don't say something pretty soon, then I'm going to if they say something, then you're gonna mess around and take
take
them
their
or
kids.
call the
Yep,
call the
yep.
people or something like that.
Gonna call the
And
po-po.
and that's a reality. There are colleagues of mine that do work in the Child Protective Services system. It is really important work. I was just never built for that kind of work. It pulls pulls at the heartstrings
Yeah.
so much. I applaud my colleagues that do that work. But in the school system, how well you get to really actualize the school social worker role is largely governed by who is your principal and the administration. Because in one space, they'll have us as attendance officers, which is not really what we're supposed to do. Unless we're given the possibility of going out to the home. See, that's a thing that makes school social workers different from the rest of the helping professions in a school building. Social workers go to the home. If you don't understand the journey that a kid has to take to school every day, you don't know. Like when I worked in Chicago, Chicago's gang situation is real and it is intense. And you've got kids who are going through 2 and 3 different rival territories, and that can cause a lot of depression, anxiety. You know, students are getting there super early, and you're like, why are you here so early? And they never want to say what it is, but you know, because you know the culture of the space. So when I was working in charter schools, it was wonderful because you were given free reign to do whatever needed to be done for the kids. In most traditional public schools, that's really hit or miss. If your principal knows what social workers do, then you get to really actualize the position. Otherwise, not so much. And they don't really hire us as much as guidance counselors. We cost more.
And speaking of hiring, here in North Carolina, there's a really big issue, actually across the country, in regards to teachers' pay. You know, mental health is a really big thing also in our communities as well. With your background and of course your candidacy for this role as House District 43, what do you bring to the table, or what do you want to see in regards to the changing that that statistic that those aren't getting mental health services or dropping out of school at enormous rates, and of course the funding part of actually making sure teachers and guidance counselors and mental health social work professionals have those resources to help those kids.
I mean, if we're not investing in the educational future of our children, we have no investment in this country. I mean, that's just period. Whenever, you know, I mean, if you can't get behind paying teachers, see, that is a sacred public trust. I started at home with my son, but when it was time for him to go to pre-K and K through, now he's in the 7th grade, you know, you trust those teachers to get him prepared to be ready for a global economy, to follow whatever dream that he wants. And because he's lucky enough, because that's really what it comes down to, are you lucky enough to live in a school system that's going to have good resources and well-paid teachers who have years of experience? But if he was, you know, I still don't want that to be the luck of the draw for kids. And we're losing good teachers, not because they don't care and not because they don't want to help kids, but because they have to feed their own families.
And they working 2 jobs.
Working 2 jobs.
My mom is she works for the San Diego Unified School District, and a lot of them have to pay out of pocket for their own supplies.
Exactly.
And I think back in,
That's here too, but
And
that's
here too.
That's here
everywhere.
too. I know a
Honestly, that's
teacher
a lot
right
of
now
places.
that works at Home Depot, and she teaches. She works at Home Depot so she can supply the kids with what they need.
Right.
But I mean, it's just, I mean, I was a substitute teacher with Cumberland County Schools for 2 years, and there were times where I had to, you know, teach 40 kids in one classroom for 4 periods.
Right.
And you know that's just crazy for one teacher.
That's
Who's
right.
getting paid really like a little above $10 to $15 an hour
Right.
if you break down their salary to teach 40 kids. And these ain't angels. These are stinking, like they don't wear no deodorant. You know, they telling you can't do nothing to me. My mama, and then they said talking about you can't fail me because I no child left behind. They know policy.
They know
They know
policy.
policy. Like the kids telling you can't fail me because you only can give me a D.
Exactly,
So I mean, like
right.
the teachers are really taking on a lot.
They're taking
and
on
then
a
you
lot.
want to give us some change.
Right.
And then like
They are.
they striking, you know, they do the little red thing. But I really said something the other day. I was like, now y'all wasting y'all money on them red shirts. Y'all should have worn some regular shirts to strike. Now
Red
you say
for
you ain't got
Ed.
no money, but you buying red.
I don't think it costs that much. The statement it's making is a bigger statement. So
I want to circle back because I think we touched on something that's really important about how social workers are underutilized. And I really think it's because a lot of the community out there doesn't know
Right.
how they're being used. in that service,
Exactly.
Or how to use that particular
Right.
service. So even, can you just walk through some of the benefits of what social workers in the schools provide?
Oh my
'Cause
gosh,
maybe
yeah.
you'll reach like a mother that
right.
doesn't know.
There-
or
there- there's
student
so
that-
much you can do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, so again, if you're in a school that lets you be a social worker, there is, so first of all, the mental health services. We are licensed clinicians. I do just as much therapy with kids, actually usually more than the school psychologist. School psychologist's role is to do a lot of psychoeducational testing primarily, and that is their domain, and and they have got that on lock, and God bless them for getting their thing to be their thing. But we do individual and group therapy. We do, I probably, actually what the statistic is that clinical social workers do more clinical direct practice work than counselors, psychiatrists, and psychologists combined.
That's true.
And most people don't really know
'Cause
that.
I do that, like I work in mental health at the hospital, and we deal with
Hospital social work.
People used to get mad at me. The therapists at our floor would get mad because I said, "Y'all social workers." They're like, "No, we therapists
Exactly.
now. We therapists." I said, "What's your
Exactly.
degree in sociology?" I said, "You a social worker."
Well, if
And
it's,
they done
if
changed your
it's a
name,
degree
so
in
you-
sociology, then they are not
No,
a social
it's,
worker.
what is it? What's the degree for social work? Is
It's
it social work?
it's BSW or MSW.
Okay, well,
And-
they social work.
And speaking of that, I got a comment and a question.
Okay.
First comment is, it seems like you were a really good fit for this candidacy role, because maybe we can get these people to work together to pass a clean budget every
Yes,
right?
I believe in staples, not paper clips. Don't be tucking stuff into the bill. If what you want to get done legislatively has merit and value, then you don't need to hide it in somebody else's bill. And then what happens is you got somebody voting on part of a bill that they think, well, this is really good and it would help people, but in order to get this,
rider
I
or
got to
something,
do
yeah.
this rider.
Exactly.
And I don't believe in that. Let's just staple my bill shut, do a clean piece of legislation, and if it has merit, it should pass. If
Absolutely.
it doesn't, we go back to the drawing board.
Well, with that being said, if I'm living in your district, why should I vote for you?
Because I'm a progressive Democrat in every possible way that you can be, because I believe that we need to put education first. We'll never be able to pay teachers what they're really worth. Never. But we can certainly do better than we're doing
Yeah, I
right
agree.
now.
That's true.
And it's not just the teacher pay. See, people focus on the teacher pay, as well they should, but it's like you said, under-resourced classrooms. So those kinds of things we're trying to get a school system to be numbered that's like in the top 5% in this country, so that we can draw in good educators from outside, because they bring different perspectives. They bring all of this, different information, and we want that exposure for our kids. So I put education first. Now see, this is the other thing. I'm a Democrat. I believe in Medicaid expansion. I want a clean piece of legislation that just says, let's expand Medicaid. Let's get people healthy. It's an ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. It's just the right thing to do. So I definitely want to have that in there. But I'm also a social worker first. And so poverty never gets brought up. It never gets brought up in the conversations.
Oh, they run from that.
They
Well,
run from that.
They don't run from. They
They run from
criminalize
that.
poverty.
That's right.
They put
That
it
is
with
true.
a face, and normally that face
Well, that's
is
how they
people
run.
who.
I wouldn't say
Exactly.
criminalize.
That's
I
I
would-
think
I
that
wouldn't
I
say
really
criminalize.
think they
Exactly.
I wouldn't say criminalize. I would say capitalize, because
Depending on who talking.
from any standpoint of the criminal justice system, is a profit motive.
That's true.
Every single
true.
aspect. So it is capitalization. That's what
That's
it
true.
is.
Yeah, the professionalization of poverty has led to people's whole jobs being to keep people at a subsistence level. And so at this point, I'm trying to put poverty on the agenda. The very reason that I got into social work was because of homelessness. So when I lived in D.C., there was this advocate named Mitch Schneider, and he was a huge homeless advocate. And he passed away, and it made the news cycle for like 3 or 4 different days. And I just kept thinking, and this is when I was a community college student, and I said, what's going to happen to all these people now that he's not here to advocate for them? And it was right around Halloween. And so I said, wonder what kids who are homeless do for Halloween. Like, they can't go trick-or-treating. And so I found this shelter in D.C., has a whole bunch of kids in it, and I found a few more. And so me and some friends just got a bunch of candy donated, and we took it to them in shelters. And so that led to me having a relationship with this one shelter called the General Scott Inn, which is in Northwest D.C., just off of 14th Street. You couldn't afford to live over there now, but the building is all condos and stuff now, but it used to be a homeless shelter. And And so, I used to take the kids on trips because I really believe exposure is so necessary especially for kids who are in dire straits. And so I've done everything from dress up as the Easter Bunny and bring them Easter baskets to taking them out to see Santa Claus and get their picture taken at the mall and everything in between, because homelessness is such a huge issue. Absolutely. And we're not really talking about it on a national level. And I think it's because, homeless folks, maybe they don't vote or donate to campaigns, and so they don't get political attention.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Right
but
there.
how do you see? I'm a native of Fayetteville. Jaquetta is not. But
San Diego, what's up?
Chaz is, and me and Chaz know the culture of Fayetteville, meaning we're really tight knit. If we don't know you, or we don't know your daddy, we don't know where you went to school. Like Jaquetta said in the one show that the high schools are real big here because that's how we attach to who we know. How do you show that you have love for Fayetteville, even though you're not from Fayetteville?
Well, because I made a choice to move to Fayetteville. I've been in Fayetteville numerous times over the years because my older brother was in the 82nd.
Okay.
And I was telling y'all back before the base had
Airborne
gates,
all the way.
so
Airborne all the way,
I would
y'all.
be considered a leg because I never jumped out of a plane, and so he used to call me a leg all the time. So I've been here many times to visit him back then. And I made a decision that it was time, because I know what my HBCU gave me in undergrad. And so I knew that after working at UConn and St. Joseph, it was time for me to go home to an HBCU. And I looked up FSU's program, and I really, really liked it. And so I came down here, and they hired me. I've since bought a home here. I technically live in Linden. Which means Postmates does not deliver to
they
me.
don't. You ain't getting no food.
I'm on
You ain't
Postmates,
getting no food in
right?
Linden.
No food
It's
in
a gas
Linden.
station out there to serve breakfast.
And that chicken that they serve at lunch is
just- it's off
fantastic.
the chain.
Listen, so right there next to the sheep farm, I live out there.
Yeah.
So, but you're gonna come visit, you got to pack a lunch because I live far. But it's really only 5 minutes outside of Fayetteville.
Go
but,
down Ramsey Street.
Go
get
right
there.
down Ramsey Street, exactly. Stop right at the Goodyear plant.
Yes.
So I've bought a home here. My son and I are very involved in Fayetteville rec sports. Because I'm a football mom. Okay. So we did 3 years
Who
of
your
rec
team?
football. So we did the first 2 years at College Lakes. We were with the Colts. And he did the 10U year there. They went undefeated in the regular season and the postseason and won the championship.
Okay.
So that's
Shout
right.
out.
That's right. Coach Smith was the bomb, and all of the other coaching staff as well. And then this season, we went to our home rec, which is Pine Forest. And so we played football there under Coach Linwood. And now this is our second season of basketball. So we're involved in, the rec sports. We're not, no shade to AAU, but we're doing it hometown. And that's great because we get to see the families and the
Exactly.
kids all the time.
And that's what
from
matters.
Different
Because
things.
sports bring us together. You'd be surprised
Exactly.
how we'll put together all those. I saw a commercial that said Americans put together all their differences during football season.
That's true.
Except during the Ohio State-Michigan
Except-
game. As long as we're clear on that. No, but you're right. I mean, it brings us together. And then you get to know these folks, and you get to watch the kids grow up and stuff. So it is actually a lot of fun. So we're coming to the end of this basketball season. I think we're supposed to be starting lacrosse next week. I mean, it's just no break.
We got that
from
in Fayetteville?
There's more
I don't
than
know
football
one
and basketball.
person. I don't know one person that played lacrosse, but I'm glad you're giving him the
That's right,
experience.
that's right.
Let me tell you something.
That's
Lacrosse
right.
is really fun.
Lacrosse is nice.
That
It's a good workout, too.
sound like some DC, California stuff. 'Cause down here in North Carolina,
Bringing it back. So,
We're bringing it back.
Let's bring
But
it
I
back.
want to go back to what you had said. What can the social workers do? Like, what can the families get? So if you
Right.
got families who are experiencing homelessness and they need somewhere to go see the school social worker. We have relationships with agencies all over the city, all across the county. So if you need somewhere to go, if you need clothes, things like that, we do that. I know that there are social workers in the schools who have started their own food pantries, their own clothing closets, so that they can make sure that the kids have what they need. As a matter of fact, there's a colleague of mine, and she actually gets like the Tide Pods, because their school is connected to a rec, and the parents are able to wash 2 loads of clothes each day for free. And you'd be surprised how important that is. I remember one time having a kid come to the school I was working in Baltimore, and just really being grumpy. Finally got thrown out of the class. I see the kid, she's got her hat on, and it was a Voc Tech school, and so that'll be important to the story in a second. So she's got her hat on, and her clothes smell a little musty, and I'm like, well, what's going on? And they had to move overnight. And so mom took all the clothes out of the wash, put them in a trash bag. And so now they're musty. So the kids are teasing. She can't do her hair. So fortunately, the school, being a vocational technical school, had a hair salon in there for the kids that are learning how to do hair. And so we went upstairs and we were like, can you? And so she got her hair together. They washed the towels and stuff. We washed her clothes for her. And she was able to go back to the classroom. And then I could reach out to mom and say, what did you need? It's when I worked at the school in D.C., I went to court all the time because it was a school for kids in the juvenile justice system. And so we were in court almost every day trying to work with the kids who sometimes we asked the judge to keep them out, and sometimes we didn't. So there's a whole host of things that we can do to help families if they just come to the school and talk to us.
I love that, and it really speaks to me because, like I said, my mom is a teacher, and I remember growing up that she used to, and she works in a very underprivileged, underserved school and community as well, and she used to, find a kid growing up that, just did not have a good home environment, and she would literally, adopt them into our family for the whole school year. She would give them their clothes, and I would be like, wait, I'm like 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm like, I ain't giving them my clothes. They coming on our trips. I'm like, who is this? But now that I'm older and I look back, I thought that was really admirable for her to do that, paying out of her own pocket, knowing that she wasn't getting paid what she deserves. But
now we 20 minutes in.
Yeah, we 20
I'm
minutes.
sorry.
We 20 minutes in.
We're about to go. We do something called struggle stories.
That's my
Trent
baby.
wants to go and talk
That's
about.
my baby.
I want to hear it. Let's
Now,
hear it.
I
No, you got to start it off.
I gotta start off the struggle story.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna make this quick because we 20 minutes in.
Okay.
Okay. About 7 years ago, I was working at Waffle House. I was working at Waffle House in Cedar Creek, which is on the other side of Fayetteville. But I was living in Spring Lake.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, but I ain't have no car. So I'll tell you how I get to work. That's another struggle story.
Okay.
But I didn't have enough money to eat one time. So I decided to walk to the Walmart that's on 210. I had a belt around my stomach. And I got me 2 things of beef sausages and put them right up in here in my belt and walked back down to my house and made me spaghetti with no noodles with sauce. And it was the best. I don't care. Listen. When poverty hits you, you don't care about no law. You care about eating.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I was working at Waffle House and I was eating all the Waffle House. Now you see, I wasn't missing a meal, but nevertheless, I was stealing meat to make noodleless spaghetti
Lord.
with no bread. It was like
was
chili.
just with
It was chili.
chili. You
That's
were
what I was
making
calling it, chili. I was making chili.
Nasty.
But y'all should have seen me walking down there with them sausages on my stomach. I was like, please don't let this meat get rotten on the way back.
Oh,
Because it was
Lord.
like a 20-minute, 30-minute walk back to the... That's a struggle story
That's
for
a
you.
struggle
That's a
story.
struggle
That
story
is a
for
struggle
y'all.
story.
If you got it bad, just think about me. You just think about how
Stealing meat.
I've come a long way. I've come a long way. Thank you, G.
Come a long way.
Thank you, Lord.
Okay, I can go. So I have a struggle story. I was in a previous relationship. I was in my early 20s. I had 2 children back to back, and I was going through a divorce. And I just remember in that time, it was a bad toxic situation. I had to try to find my way out of it. I didn't want everyone to know my business. And I tried to move out, and it just was, I got caught because it didn't work out as smoothly as I thought. And so I remember just having to reach out to my mom and them, and they were just like, listen, you got to figure this out because we're not there. And I had 2 small children, and I just said, you know what? I was broke. I remember writing a bad check so I could secure my apartment at the time.
Oh, Lord, bad chick.
But,
Now, she talking about me stealing, and she doing
I
felonies.
understand the struggle, but eventually everything worked out in my favor to where I was able to get out of the situation. I was able to divorce my ex-husband, and my kids and I were fine. And I had a wonderful support system, but I just, anybody out there that's ever been in those situations, I feel like you can't get out. It truly just takes you making the decision that I'm leaving.
Right.
Now,
And
Kim,
that's
struggles was supposed to be funny. She went to preaching.
Oh, okay.
Now, you ain't getting no ties.
So-
You ain't getting no ties. You ain't getting no offering.
My
No,
personal-
you
that's
is out
my
here
struggle,
giving,
okay? And that was
preaching.
my struggle.
And that is a very
She
necessary
is so
story
deep.
to tell.
She
That's
deep.
right.
I'm going to
You get
start
my
calling you
nerves.
Minister Gooden. Minister Gooden is what I'm going to start calling you. You are so deep.
What?
All right, I'll try to give you. It's funny because my struggle story is going to be sort of the opposite of yours. Because I remember being in college and being so broke. I actually have two struggle stories, not because I just reminded me of something else, but so I remember that I was so hungry, and you don't want to call your parents and ask for anything because you're trying to be grown and live in your own space, and so I had boxes of Hamburger Helper. And did not think you could make Hamburger Helper without the hamburger. But let me tell you, that is the best macaroni and cheese.
And you throw your little hot sauce in there.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That is the
That's a
best.
struggle meal
That
for
is a
real.
struggle meal
That's
for
a
real.
struggle
So
meal
you
for
just
real.
eat the noodles and the cheese. So yeah,
We don't even
that's
want to ask Chaz his struggle story. His struggle story is going to be something like, I only had $1,000 in my bank account, and I don't know how I was going to get to Tuesday. I don't know how I was going to buy my boat, but
well, now we have to hear it.
Yeah, go on, Chad.
So he's almost right. my yacht ran out of fuel in my head. No, seriously. So, to those of you that serve in the military, you remember Armed Forces Bank, right? Armed Forces Bank will let you pretty much overdraft your account until your next paycheck.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was the lick, right? So I got caught in a bad time. You know how you spend your money, you say, okay, I got like 3 more days till payday hit.
Oh, yeah,
But
I've
in the
been
military, we get paid 2 days early.
Good.
So
I've been
you can spend about 3 days ahead.
Uh-huh.
So
You didn't calculate.
It's a whole calculus.
it was yeah. It's
struggle
It's a whole
calculator.
calculation. Carry the one.
What had happened was
Oh Lord.
I was in Germany and I was coming back to the United States to visit my family. And I was negative, I think $1,600. That was my next check or something like that. I was negative, but I knew my check was coming in, so I'd have been
Gave the
good.
bank your whole check.
Right.
But you understand, at the time I
I'm
was
guilty of it once
at the time I was not married, but my girlfriend at the time, which became my wife, was pregnant, and I was taking care of her finances and my finances, and so I was a single soldier taking care of basically 3 houses, my mama's house too, 3 houses, and. So long story short, I caught a MAC flight from Germany, which are free for service members at the time. I caught a MAC flight from Germany to McGuire, to New Jersey. And I was going to take a Greyhound from there to Fort Bragg and see my family in Fayetteville, which my daughter was here, my mom, everybody else. Long story short, I'm pushing the limit. I got my ticket, everything I needed, food and everything. And I get the Greyhound, and the Armed Forces Bank declined me. And I was like, I met my limit. I'm like,
Wow.
well past it. So I'm thinking like, oh, man, I'm stuck up here in New Jersey. It's where I'm from originally, but my people are going to kill me because they don't have the means to go to get me from New Jersey. And so I'm walking around the airport, around the Greyhound station like, man, I hope something come through. Ticket's like $89. Do you know this guy? Came up to me and said, thank you for your service. Are you coming or going? And I was like, I'm going. Because, I was coming back from Germany. He was asking, was I going to Iraq? And this was right before I deployed to Iraq. So I was like, I'm about to go tomorrow, actually, man. I'm scared. He was like, I'm alive. And so he gave me $100. And he said, thank you for your service.
Wow.
And I said, sir, I don't want your money. He says, no. My dad, he served in World War II. What you guys are going through is outrageous, blah, blah, blah. You don't know how he touched my heart. So wherever that guy is up in New Jersey, thank you to you. I was 21 years old and irresponsible with my money. And so I go straight to the counter. The ticket is $89 and some change. I had just enough.
You got a
I had
sandwich.
just enough to get a sandwich.
You got a sandwich.
Hop on that Greyhound and get on to Fayetteville, and that check hit next morning. So
Now you know when people really want to take your money, they always say, "Nah, I don't want to do that to you, bro."
And I was
but
holding
they
tight.
still take the money.
holding it tight.
I would tell
You don't want to offend him.
I want to take it, but I'm
I'll
not
tell you another struggle story. Another struggle story that we have.
No,
here.
you get one struggle story an episode.
One struggle that people have here is finding where to vote. So you
Oh,
live in District
Lord.
43.
That's good. I see what you did
You
there.
I see what he did. He put that in.
See how they do?
And one thing we didn't ask her is what made her want to run?
Ask her why she
Okay,
would
I
vote
will
for
do
her.
it quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
quickly.
What
So,
made me want to run?
Your district and what made you want to run?
So I'm House District 43, which is enormous now.
It is.
And it cuts across a lot of different demographics, which I actually think is good because then you're not in this sort of monolithic group think. You have to see how does this one piece of legislation affect people across a swath of different communities. So that's what that is. We want you to go vote at Smith Rec. Please
Smith Rec, yes.
go to Smith Rec to vote.
What's the address there? If I don't know where Smith Rec is.
Langdon Street.
Langdon Street, right?
Yeah, it's right across the street from
right-
the university.
yeah.
Got you.
Yep.
Okay, Fayetteville
Langdon
State, right?
Street. Yeah, Fayetteville State.
Of
Langdon
course,
Street.
The university.
Exactly.
See, look at that.
We'll make
Exactly.
sure we clear for everybody.
Clarify
Yeah.
that, you know. And I wanted to run because I just was seeing so much stuff happening at the legislative level that I thought a social worker would be really good for this. I'm constantly telling my students, if you want to make sustainable change, significant change, you have to do it at the macro level, policy
That's
level.
what's
So I'm trying to make change for my community. I mean, I want to live in a community that I feel like I can thrive in, my family and friends can thrive in, and I think the best way to ensure that is to be the person sitting at the table making those decisions.
And you so genuine. Like, you've been the same way.
Yeah.
I met you at the inaugurational night that Chairs threw.
that was fun.
And you were, like, the same way you are now is the same way you were then. So I don't know if
You
love
good people.
you.
Yeah, you good people,
She
man.
good people. She
Yeah,
good
we
people.
always want them to come back.
All right, let's
Oh,
go ahead.
thank you
Let's
so
go ahead and
much.
do our inspirational
Let's do
quote.
Our
quote.
inspiration.
But thank you for coming. We really
Thanks for
enjoyed
having
you.
me.
Absolutely.
Yes, it was.
Thank
very
you
fun.
so
We
much.
ended on a quote.
Oh,
and because
God.
you are our guest, you can
Minister
go ahead.
Gooden.
And,
Okay, I
go
have
ahead.
my quote.
Give it to the people.
My quote is, if something can be learned, you can learn it.
All
Yeah,
right.
I teach the research methods class. My social work students are always so anxious, but I tell them, if something can be learned, you can learn this. You have the ability to do this. You are not any more or less smart than anybody else. So if something can be learned, you can learn it.
Okay.
Amen.
So I failed y'all the last couple of times, but I'm gonna bring it
You
today.
fail every time.
Fearless and relentless in your pursuit to what sets your soul on fire.
Oh, I love that.
100%.
Yes.
That means if a door closed, just get back up and open it yourself. That's how I see it.
I like that. I like that.
Okay,
So-
I'll go. Yesterday is history. The future is a mystery, and the present is a gift. So
Why you
make
gotta
today
say it with
count.
attitude?
I like
I'm gonna say it like a preacher. Yesterday
well,
was history. go ahead, Taz. I ain't gonna preach today. They ain't got no money for ties.
Like, once again, we have a wonderful candidate with us, and we thank her
my
for
God,
her
the
time.
quote.
For her time, and because she is a candidate, my quote today is: "Speak up for those that can't speak for themselves."
yes.
That's what you vote for people for. You vote for folks that want to speak up for those that can't speak for themselves. So thank you once again
Thank
for
y'all.
tuning in. We really appreciate it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, engage and ask questions. Thank you so much.
Bye, y'all. See y'all out.
Remember,
Deuces.
it's all us.